guys. Good morning, good afternoon. Actually, technically it's good afternoon right now, but whenever you're watching this, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time you're watching this. It is March 6th, 2023, and I'm giving you guys word of the day. I'm kind of later than usual, and I'm going to be a little bit later than usual throughout this week a little bit, just because I got some car issues, and I got to handle them and make sure that everything's going all right. But things are coming together a little bit better. This last week has been kind of weird, transitionally, emotionally, everything, but I'm just trying my best, push my way through it, and yeah. But yeah, okay. Today's word of the day: focus on what is in your control. Now, when I say focus on what's in your control, I mean almost putting energy into things that you know you can actually change or you have control over. I'm gonna say that I've noticed I started saying this a lot recently just because of word of the days, but a lot of the times we as individuals believe we have much more control over life and things that are surrounding our lives than we actually do. We believe we have more control than we actually do, if that makes sense. And what that does is it leads to preoccupying ourselves to push for and try to fix things and control things that we really have no control over. So it's almost like putting effort into things that you can't really change. And in the process, it's almost like running in a hamster wheel. Like you're pushing, but you don't really have jurisdiction over whether what you're doing will be successful or not. So what I mean by focus on what you have control over is, while we do have a little bit that we actually control, we don't really have control over a lot of things. We can't control when people want to stay. We can't control when moments will end. We can't control when bad things are happening to others. We can't control someone experiencing something and telling them just get out of it. We can't control certain things. We can't control whether, life is just going to hit us, or we can't control when something bad will happen randomly in the future. No, we just have control over a little bit of things, We have control over ourselves and what we can think. And that's the biggest thing. Controlling your mind is something you can actually control. Emotions are very hard to control. Actually, naturally you would be inclined to think my emotions are easier to control than my mind, but sometimes it's the opposite. Just because this is another word of the day I've thought about, but more so like the heart is something that we own, but we don't really have full control over. We have to kind of like fight with it if we want to control it. So even then, like even our own emotions, we sometimes don't even have control over. We have control over how we express them and release them, but sometimes those emotions will just happen. And that's what I want to get at. Like, you have a little bit of control over certain things, but that doesn't mean you have zero control. Excuse me. Honing in on that little bit of control that you have over your own life, or just the way things happen around you, can make a big difference. If you focus on your mindset and the things you can control, like the things you think about and how you feel about certain things, you'll ultimately be walking out feeling like you have more control, if that makes sense. So if you, let's say you control your mind to be more positive, no matter the situation, even if you have a harsh day, when bad days come, you can't control the bad day, but you're more likely to control the idea on whether it will be a bad day for you or not, if that makes sense. So controlling the things that you have, focusing on the things you have control on can ultimately at least make you feel like you have more control over other aspects of your life, if that makes sense. And that just takes practice, and it's all within the mind and the mindset, and building that mindset and following through with it. So if you have something you have control over, if you can actually make a decision to improve your life and make yourself feel better, do it. Because very rarely will you have control over certain things. Very rarely will you have control to, decide when you're going to go through a rough time or not. But if you have the option to at least experience and understand what that is, if you have the option to be by yourself, or at least have control over when you want to be by yourself, rather than when the time comes where you have no control whether you can be by yourself or not, do it, because you're at least in control when you make the choice to do those things, if that makes sense. But yeah. All right, so that's my word of the day today. Focus on what you can control. It's hard, but ultimately, if you do it correctly, if you do it and do it correctly, you will find yourself having less stresses with the world and with life. And stress free is everything. If everyone was stress free, then, like, if everyone was focused on what they can control, and if everyone was able to just accept life as it is, there would be much less stress in this world. But people put a lot of pressure on themselves to try to control things that they can't really control. So at least being mindful of it and at least kind of trying to control it will take you somewhere. And that's what I want you guys to focus on. But yeah, I thank you guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful day. Be positive. Think about yourself. Think for yourself. And just appreciate life. I don't know. God bless y'all though.